What's up YouTube, it's your boy Nash here, welcome back to the channel, and today I have an updated Ishizu tier deck profile for you guys today. Now I know what you guys are thinking, wait a minute, why do an update on the Ishizu tier deck? The deck's already powerful enough as it is. Yes, that may be the case, but the biggest problem is that with the ban list had just dropped not too long ago. Herald of Orange Light became one of the more key components for the entire deck, and the reason being was because of the fact that there were some decks were running synchros such as Baron de Fleur, and of course as well cards like Draco Berserker of the Tenny, which both those cards are extremely powerful. I've even seen some decks as well run Ally of Justice Decisive Armor, not in the extra but more in the side, as a way to further I guess for semi-mirror matches, because there are some well, not for mirror matches, but going up against like any like late base deck, whether it was like Cyber Dragons or Counter Fairies or whatever. So cards like Decisive Armor is a pretty good one. Cards like Abyss Dweller is still pretty busted. But what I decided to do is I decided to give this deck a bit of a revamp. I actually decided to cut out the Herald of Orange Light and cut out the third Primeval Planet Perlino, and added a second field spell to the main deck, which might surprise you. Which might surprise you. But with that being said, if you guys enjoyed this deck profile and you guys want more deck profiles in the future, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, follow me on all my social media. Links will be in the description below, including my Instagram, because I always post the deck lists on my Instagram. Be sure to follow me there and check out the post. Link will be in the description below, as will the info to my fan mail. It will also be in the description as well. Let's get straight into it, kicking these off obviously with the Tearlament Monster Package. So for the Tearlament, I have a single copy of Tearlament Kashtira. Now you guys are wondering why this card. This is actually a really good 7-star monster for one reason, and one reason only. Because of the fact that there's a 1-star tuner in this deck that I'm running that can actually help go into Draco Berserker of the Tenny, which I'm running in the extra. But what is that 1-star tuner? You'll have to find out. You'll have to wait and find out later on in the video. But this is a OCG exclusive card as of right now. I don't know when we'll get this in the TCG. I think we're gonna get this in Photon Hypernova, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong, but Tearlament Kashtira is a 7-star water psychic with 2300 attack, 1200 defense, and it says during the main phase as a quick effect, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, banish one Kashtira or Tearlament's card from your hand or graveyard. If this card is normal or special summon, you can send the top 3 cards of either player's deck to the grave. If this card is sent to the grave by a card effect, you can send the top 2 cards of your deck to the grave. You can only use each effect once per turn. That's a total of 5 cards that you're milling. So logically speaking, if you were to mill, let's say I'll say Mudora the Sword Oracle. If you were to mill him, and you have a fuck ton of cards in your graveyard, you can basically just trigger Mudora's effect to avarice some cards from your graveyard back into the main or the extra deck, depending on what you want to put back into deck, of course, and then just combo off from there. Logically speaking. But if you were to have, obviously, exchange of the spirit, which this deck does not run, unfortunately, then obviously yes, you are going to be sending five. You're going to be averaging 5 back into your graveyard, not to your graveyard, back into the deck, and you can just combo up from there, which is really nice. But it really doesn't matter whether you send 3 or you send 2 to your graveyard. Either way, this card, you're going to be doing this is basically one of your main combo starters, I guess you could say. So if you have this card in your hand, and you have a card like, let's say, I'll say, just to throw it out there, I'll say Turtleman's Heartbeat. Let's just say that you can send Heartbeat. You can banish Heartbeat from your hand or your graveyard. Special summon this card. Mill 3 from your deck, and just combo up from there, which is just absolutely insane. Plus not only that, this card plus any of your 3-star hand traps that you have that you have in the side deck. Unfortunately, you can instantly go into Baron de Fleur, or if you have a way to or I'll say what? I'll say Reinhardt plus 2 of the Ghost Sister hand traps. You can instantly go into obviously Allies Justice Decisive Armor, which is actually pretty cool. Next up, we have 3 copies of Turtleman's Shiren. This is basically your polymers. This is one of your polymerizations for the entire deck. It's just absolutely insane. So it reads, during your main phase, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, send 1 monster from your hand to the graveyard, then send the top 3 cards of your deck to the grave. If this card is sent to the grave by a card effect, except during the damage step, you can fusion summon a fusion monster from your extra deck by placing fusion materials mentioned on it from your hand, field, and or graveyard, including this card from your grave to the bottom of the deck in any order. You can only use each effect once per turn. So again, this is basically your contact poly, which is absolutely insane. Not only that, this is basically another like combo starter. So if you were to have let's say you have Turtleman's Kashira and Shiren in both in your hand. You can special summon. You can pitch the Shiren, send the Kashira, pitch the Shiren, summon the Kashira. Shiren's effect would trigger as Chain Link 1. Kashira would be Chain Link 2. Combo off from there, and then you can then go into your pretty much any fusion that you may have at your disposal. Which for my fusion card pool is it's pretty much the same. So nothing really much has changed with the extra deck, but still it's a pretty crazy combo right there, which is pretty nuts. Next up, we have 2 copies of Turtleman's Reinhardt. This is basically your I wouldn't say I know that I said that Shiren was a combo starter, but it's more of an extender. Reinhardt is where it's at. So the card reads, when this card is normal special summon, you can send 1 Turtleman's monster from your deck to the graveyard, except this card. If this card is sent to the grave by a card effect, you can special summon this card but banish it when it leaves the field, and if you do, send 1 Turtleman's card from your hand to the grave. Obviously, this is basically this card just ensures that your Shiren, that either your Shiren or your Havness becomes live, because if they don't become live off of the effects of your of your Reinhardt, or even off of any of your Ishizu cards, then the card is essentially a break. Especially if your opponent were to activate Imperm, if they were to activate Imperm or Dark Ruler No More or whatever, the card is just done. It's basically a brick on board, and the only thing that you can do is special summon another 4-star monster and either go into the Abyss Dweller, which I have in the extra deck, or go into one of the 3 links that I have in the extra deck, which include the Phoenix, or one of the 2 Charmers, basically Asa or Dark, which is still pretty nuts. Next up, we have 2 copies of Tearlament's Halfness, which is basically the exact same thing as as the Shiren, but it has a different first effect, which reads: when your opponent activates a monster effect on the field as a quick effect, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. So basically, you can just Cyber Dragon this card from your hand, mill 3, combo off from there, go into your fusion plays, and then you could just essentially just make your board during your opponent's turn, and they essentially just scoop right then and there, which is really nuts. Plus not only that, but because that Havness is a 3-star, you can go Havness, plus you can go Havness, Merly, Reinhardt or Shiren, plus the 1-star tuner that I have in my main deck. You instantly go into Battle as well, which is pretty nuts if you have that at your disposal, which is really cool. And then also we've got the two Merly as another combo extender, because obviously this is basically another, this is basically your third polymerization for the whole deck. So to recap, Reinhardt is basically the main combo starter of the whole of the entire deck. Kashira can just further ensure that your Shiren, Havness, and Merly, as I randomly miscalculated, of course, become live when they're sent to the graveyard, and it can help you go into cards such as the Predaplan Dragon's Tapelia, the Garua Wings of Resonant Life, or any of the 3 Tearlament's fusions, which is Insanity. Then we are running a small Bestial package, so we're only running 1 of each. So we got one Druid's Worm, one Magnum Hut, and 1 Serenar. Obviously, they are only in here to facilitate a rank 6 that I have in the deck, or to further, or to help go into any of the links that you may have at your disposal, or because that all 3 are level 6, and I have a random 2-star tuner in the deck, it can help you go into Draco Berserker of the Tenny as well. So any of these plus some tuners, you go into the synchros right then and there, which is really nuts. Then we've got obviously the Ishizu card. So we've got 3 Kelbeck, 3 Mudora, 3 Agito, and 3 Keldo. Kelbeck's effect is kind of an odd one, but it's still pretty nuts. So the effect reads: if a card or cards is sent from the hand or deck to the grave, to your opponent's grave, except during the damage step, you can special summon this. You can target 1 special summon monster your opponent controls, special summon this card from your hand, then return that monster to the hand. If this card is sent from the hand or deck to the grave, you can activate this effect. Each player sends the top 5 cards of their deck to the grave, or their entire deck if less than 5. Then if exchange of the spirit is in your grave, you can set 1 trap from your grave. You can only use each effect once per turn. So this is basically a way to help facilitate, help ensure and facilitate your Shiren, your Havnus, your Merleys, or even your Bestial cards to be live when they are in the graveyard, so you can trigger off of their effects. Shiren's effect with trigger can help you go into your Katalos and just pop off from there. This is a pretty nasty deck. I'm telling you guys, this is a nasty deck. Even without the Herald of Orange Light, this deck is just absolutely insane. With Mudora, as I had already mentioned earlier, Mudora acts as a pot of avarice, which is really nice. Agito's effect actually is basically the same as Kelbeck, but it's a bit different. So it says if a card or cards is sent from the hand or deck to your opponent's grave, except during the damage tab, special summon this card from your hand. Then you can special summon a level 4 Earth Fairy monster from your grave, except this card. So this is an instant 1 card Xyz, which is just absolutely insane. Absolutely nuts. If this card is sent from the hand or deck to the grave, you can activate this effect. Each player sends the top 5 cards of their deck to the grave, or their entire deck of less than 5. Then, if exchange of the spirit is in your grave, you can send 5 more cards from the top of either player's deck to the graveyard. So if your opponent has like let's say 10 cards in their main deck, which is bound to happen given all the combo decks out there in today's meta, this is basically a way to just deck out your opponent and just pass. Just pass. That's all there is to it, which is absolutely insane. And then, of course, Keldo basically is basically another form of basically Mudora, but just different. So it reads, you can discard one other Earth Fairy monster, special summon this card from your hand, then add exchanges of spirit or a card that mentions it from your deck to your hand. As a quick effect, you can banish the card from your field or grave. Then target up to 3 cards in any graveyard, or up to 5 if Exchange of the Spirit is on your field or in the grave. Shuffle them into the deck. So again, these 2 cards just ensure that you're able to recycle all of your tier limit cards, all of your Bestials, pretty much your whole deck back from your graveyard back into the deck. So that way when you mill them again, you can once again go into your fusion plays and just combo off from there, which is absolutely insane. Now for the tuners. You guys are wondering, what are the tuners? What the hell is going on? I am running 2 copies of Effect Veiler for one reason. It's not for its effect. It's because of the fact that Effect Veiler is a tuner. So if I were to have Kastura in hand and Effect Veiler in hand, I can go discard Shiren, sent to summon the Kastura, trigger off Shiren's effect and Kastura's effect, combo off into a Katalos, combo off into whatever other effects I can trigger. Do not commit to not commit to the normal summon unless if it's Effect Veiler. Once you've comboed off completely and you know that you're good to go, normal summon the Effect Veiler, tune in with the Kastura, Draco Berserker, the Tenny. There's your board. Your board would end up consisting of Draco, would be Draco, Katalos, Dragostapelia, and I'll say Dark the Dark Charmer, Gloomy. That right there would be your board. right there, because you would have you would have a nice little disruption off of Draco. Dragus Tapelia has a nice little like imperm built in it, which is really nice. And then of course your Katalos is more of a combo extender, I guess you could say, which is really nice. And then the 2-star monster to replace Herald of Orange Light is a Herald, but the last Herald you would least expect. Diviner of the Herald. This card is absolutely insane. So the effect reads, if this card is normal or special summon, you can send one fairy monster from your deck or extra to the grave, and if you do, increase this card's level by that monster's level until the end of the turn. If this card is tributed, you can special summon a level 2 or lower fairy monster from your hand or deck except this card. That really doesn't matter because obviously you're gonna be recycling it back into your deck off of the effects of Keldo and Mudora. But what's cool about this is that any of the 3 Bestials plus Diviner, you instantly get Herald, or you can activate Diviner's effect, send the Reinhardt to the graveyard, to the graveyard. Herald becomes level 6, 8, 10. Basically that basically gives you better on, which is just absolutely insane. So Diviner, absolutely nuts. It can help you go into your Draco Berserker. It can help go into the Baron, or it can even also help go into the Ally of Justice Decisive Armor, which is just absolutely insane. For the spells, there are 12 spells in here with only 5 traps. So for the spells, we have a single copy of Instant Fusion because of the Muddy. Because of the Mud Dragon of the Swamp, because it can just extend into the it can just extend obviously into the Katalos really well, or actually into the Dragos Tapelia really nicely, which is pretty awesome. Then we have 2 copies of Tiddleman's Heartbeat. I believe the last build that I had, I was running only 1, but I decided to bring this up to 2 because I needed a second copy to help extend the plays just a little bit. So the effect reads: target 1 spell or trap on the field, or you can target 2 if you control Vice's Starfrost. Shuffle them into the deck and then send a card from your hand to the grave. If this card is sent to the grave by a card effect, you can target 1 Turtleman's trap in your grave, add it to your hand. So obviously this is basically Spell Trap Rhoda, but in the graveyard. But it also acts as a, what's that one card called? I think Back to Square One. I think it is Back to. Yeah. Basically, it acts as a Back to Square One, but for spells and traps, and it also helps send Shiren to your graveyard to go into your fusions, or to your Havernus of Merly, again to go into your fusion place, which is really nice. Next up, we have 2 copies of Tiddleman's Scream, which actually works a lot better when it's in the graveyard, but it works pretty well when it's also on board as well. So it really doesn't matter because it works both ways. But the effect of Scream reads: if a monster or monsters is normal or special summon and you control a Turtleman's monster or Rise of Starfrost, except during the damage step, you can send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. And for the rest of the turn, all monsters your opponent controls lose 500 attack. If this card is sent to the grave by a card effect, you can add a Tiddleman's trap from your deck to your hand. this is a way to bring out any of the three tier limit traps that you may have at your disposal, which is absolutely nuts. But what's cool about this is that it helps facilitate your monster pool to trigger off their effects when they're in the graveyard, which is really nice. And then to round up the spells, we've got 2 copies of Master Change 2 because of the fact that I've got the Master Hero Acid and the Master Hero Dark Law, which they're just absolutely nuts when they're on board. We got the one pot of Avarice for a little draw power. The one Harpy's Feather Duster because back row can be a pain in the fucking ass. And then the field spells. We got two Primeval Planet Perlino and a single copy of the brand new field spell for the deck. Tearlaments Pearlregia, I believe is how it's pronounced. Perlino's effect reads, when this card is activated, you can add 1 Tearlaments monster or a Visor Starfrost from your deck to your hand. Fusion monsters and Tearlaments monsters you control gain 500 attack. If a Tearlaments monster you control or in your graveyard is shuffled into the deck or extra deck, except during the damage step, you can target a card on the field and destroy it. You can only use each effect once per turn, and you can only activate one Primeval Planet Perlino per turn. So this is basically a Trap Hole MST all in one card, but not only that, because of, but this is also your I guess your Rhoda for the whole deck because of the fact that you're searching out for your Reinhardt, and you're able to normal summon her into the Shyren. Her effect triggers, and you could just pop up from there, which is really nice. Now Pearlregia, probably butchered the name. Its effect reads: fusion monsters and Tearlaments monsters you control gain 500 attack. If an Aqua Tearlaments monster is sent or monster is sent to your graveyard by a card effect, except during the damage step, you can send a lower Aqua monster from your deck to the grave. But if it's not a Tearlaments monster, you cannot activate cards or the effects of cards with that name for the rest of the turn. So it does have a slight drawback, but it is a Foolish Burial, and because of the fact that Merle and Happiness are both Aqua, you're golden. You are good to go. Being able to go into the Katalos or whatever, absolutely insane, absolutely nuts. So this card is actually pretty cool. Pretty cool, I have to admit. And then for the traps, we only have 5. So we got the one Meta Noise, the one Solik, the one Crime, and the 2 Solemn Warning. Meta Noise effect reads: if you control a Tearlaments monster or Visor Starfrost, target a face-up monster your opponent controls, change it to face down defense. Then send 1 Tearlaments monster from your deck to the grave. If this card is sent to the grave by a card effect, you can target 1 Tearlaments monster in your grave, add it to your hand. You can only use 1 effect once per turn and only once that turn. So both of its effects are indeed a hard once per turn. But what's cool about this is that this is basically a trap Book of Moon, which is absolutely nuts. So if your opponent were to activate a card like, say, I'll say, what would be a prime example? Let's say for example you're about to go into a fusion. Let's say that, and you're about to. So let's say for example having this effect triggers. Let's say that, and you're about to go into a fusion play, and your opponent activates a card like say Crystal Wing. You can then chain. You can chain Tearlaments Meta Noise, flip the Crystal Wing face down, and then you're able to send any of your Tearlaments monsters to your graveyard. Just just to trigger off their effects, which could be the Tyrellman's Kashira, Shiren, Reinhardt. It could be a second Havness or a second Merle, which is just absolutely insane. Which again, it's just insane. It is just insane. Not only that, but again, the second effect is where it really matters, because it's basically Graveyard Rhoda, I guess you could say, which is really cool. Soul Leak's effect reads, if you control a Tyrellman's monster or Vice's Starfrost, you can target one effect monster your opponent controls, negate its effects, and then send a monster you control to the graveyard. If this card is sent to the grave by a card effect, you can add a Tyrellman's monster from your deck to your hand. So this is basically the Rhoda for the whole deck, and also it's a one card. It's a continuous imperm, which is just absolutely insane. And then Tyrellman's Crime is basically Solemn Judgment, but with an added twist. So Crime's effect reads when a spell or trap or monster effect is activated while you control a Tyrellman's monster or Vice's Starfrost, negate the activation. If you do, shuffle that card into the deck. Then send a monster from your hand to the grave. If this card is sent to the grave by a card effect, you can target one of your banished Tyrellman's monsters, add it to your hand. You can only use each effect once per turn and only once that turn. So obviously, I would say Solemn Judgment, but it's more of a wiretap. Wiretap is actually a lot more, is kind of a weird one, because wiretap's effect reads when a trap is activated, negate the activation if you do shuffle that card into the deck. So Crime is basically wiretap, but it works for monsters, spells, or traps, which is just absolutely insane. And then Solemn Warning is Solemn Warning. You cannot go wrong with that. For the action deck, we got basically the main lineup as far as the fusions go. So we got the one Kaleidoheart, the one Rukalos, the one Katalos, the one Dragostapelia, the one Garua, Wings of Resonant Life, Master Hero Acid, Master Hero Darklaw, and of course Mud Dragon of the Swamp. These cards are just absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Kaleidoheart's effect says that if this card was special summoned, or if an Aqua monster was sent to your graveyard graveyard by a card effect while Kaleidoheart is on board, you can target one of your opponent's cards, shuffle it into the deck, and if this card were to be sent to the grave by a card effect, you're allowed to special summon this card and send a Tyrellman's card from your deck to your graveyard. So this card can just revive itself over and over and over and over again at the cost of sending one of your Tyrellman's cards from your deck to your graveyard, which helps you combo off into obviously your Katalos or your Rukalos, which Rukalos has a pretty nasty effect. So her effect reads that all Aqua monsters that they have on board cannot be destroyed by battle, and you can only use each of her effects once per turn. So one of the effects reads, when your opponent activates a card or effect that includes an effect that special summons a monster or monsters as a quick effect, negate the activation and destroy it. Then send a Tyrellman's card from your hand or face up Tyrellman's card from your face up field to the grave. If this fusion summon card is sent to the grave by a card effect, special summon this card. So what's cool about this is that if your opponent were to activate a card like, say, Monster Reborn, guess what? It gets negated, which is absolutely insanity. Not much else to say about that. Katalos is really cool because her effect reads, if this card is special summon, you can take one Tyrellman's card from your deck and either add it to your hand or send it to the grave. So with this, it's basically, you can either treat it as a Stratos or as a Foolish Burial, which is really nice. You can target one monster your opponent controls, special summon one Tyrellman's monster from your hand or grave, and send the targeted monster to the grave. If this card is sent to the grave by a card effect, send the top 5 cards of your deck to the graveyard. So basically, again, this just helps facilitate the effects of your Mudora, Keldo, Agito, whatever is sent to your grave. and you can just combo up from there. Dragostapelia, again, as I said before, acts as an imperm, which is really nice, and not only that, the effect reads, once per turn as a quick effect, you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls, place a predator counter on it. And if it's level 2 or higher, it becomes level 1 as long as it has a predator counter on it. Predator counter. Negate the activated effects of your opponent's monsters that have predator counter. So again, it's an imperm, which is really nice. Wings of Resonant Life is kind of an odd one, but what's cool about this is that the effect reads, any battle damage your opponent takes from battles involving this card is double. So if Garou were to attack directly, then the damage would become 3,000, which is absolutely insane. And the effect reads, and the second effect reads that if this card is sent to the grave, you can draw a card. So it's a nice little +1, but it does come as a 1-for-1, but still it's not too bad. Acid basically becomes a Harpy's Feather Duster. Dark Glob obviously is a Macrocosmos, which is just absolutely insane. And then Mud Dragon of the Swamp is only in here for one of 2 reasons. One, to go into the rank 4 play, or 2, go into the Dragostapelia, which is absolutely insane. For the Synchros, there's only 2. We got the Baron de Fleur and the Draco Berserker the Tenny. Baron basically is basically a board pop. It's a Solemn Judgment, and also too, you can send this card back into your extra deck and summon pretty much any monster that you have at your disposal from your graveyard. So it acts as a monster reborn, which is awesome. And then Draco Berserker, again, kind of similar to Dark Law, acts as a Macrocosmos, but it's more of a bottomless trap hole, I guess you could say, with built-in negation, and can also make a second attack on your opponent's monsters during each battle phase, which is really nice. And then for the XCs, there's only 2. Obviously, you guys know that I've got the Abyss Dweller, but the second one is a bit different. And that card is Pilgrim Reaper. You guys are probably wondering, what the hell does this card do? Well, it's a rank 6 Dark Zombie Exceed with question mark attack and defense, and the effect reads, this card gains 200 attack and defense for every dark monster in either player's graveyard. You can detach 1 material from this card. Each player sends the top 5 cards from their deck to the graveyard, or their entire deck if less than 5. This actually works in conjunction with the entire deck, because if you send your Shiren or your Mudora or whatever to your graveyard off the effects of the Pilgrim Reaper, guess what? You get to go into your fusion plays and combo up from there. So this is basically another version of pretty much the whole main deck, which is absolutely nuts. And the best part is that it requires two level 6 monsters. So if you have Dark Law and let's say one of the Bestials, you can overlay them into the Pilgrim Reaper, detach Dark Law, and if you were to send and if you were to mill Mudora, guess what? You can actually recycle Dark Law back into your extra deck, recycle Mass Change 2 back into your main deck, and if you were to draw Mass Change 2, or if you already have it in your hands, you can activate Mass Change 2, send one of your cards from your hand to the graveyard, send Shiren from field to grave, resummon Darklaw. There's your board right there, which is absolutely nuts. It's pretty crazy. It's a pretty crazy card, guys. Pretty crazy card. And then of course, for the links, there's only 3. There's the Nightmare Phoenix, which acts as an and MSC, which is really nice. And then of course we got the Charmers. We have a Dark and a Asa because of the fact that Dark lets you add Shiren, Havnus, or Merly, or any of the Bystials to your hand, or actually pretty much any monster that has less than 1500 attack, defense to your hand. And then also is basically the exact same thing. For the side deck, the side deck is a little bit different from last time, but I did do a bit of a revamp. So obviously we got the 2 Ash, the 2 Ogre, the two Ghost Sister, the 1 Ally of Justice, Decisive Armor. We got the 1 Underworld Goddess of the Closed World as a nice little, like, as a nice little disruption, I guess you could say, which is really nice. We got the one Access Code Talker because of the fact that there are literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 links across both the extra and the side. 8 counting obviously the access code, so that's a pretty nice hefty amount of disruptions, I guess you could say. We got the one Nightmare Unicorn, which obviously can help take cards from your opponent's board, put them back into the deck. And the best part is that if you have the Phoenix, the Unicorn, and the Griffin in your on board, that's a total of 3 cards you're drawing instead of 1 during your normal draw, which is absolutely insane. We got the 1 IP Masquerena to obviously help facilitate the Nightmare Unicorn, or the Access Code Target, or even also the Underworld Goddess of the Closed World, which is absolutely insane. And then of course the Nightmare Griffin, just to help reset any spells and traps that you may have in your graveyard, which is really nice. And then for the spells, there's only 3. We got the 1 Pot of Avarice and the 2 Dark Ruler, no more, to round out the whole deck. So honestly, the deck is just absolutely insane. It's a lot more powerful than the last build. But what's cool about this version, as I said, is the fact that you don't need Herald of Orange Light to make the deck powerful. All it needs is just the what you call it, the 2 Veilers and the 1 Diviner, and you're just comboing off from there, which is really nice. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button. If you guys are new to the channel, you guys want more deck profiles in the future, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and follow me on all my social media. Links will be in the description below, as will the info to my fan mail. It will also be in the description as well. And on that, this is your boy Nash, signing out.